Hello and welcome to another episode of Mental Wellness Corner. I'm your host Sylvia, and today we are going to have a very important conversation, one that many people struggle with silently, and that is mental health. Joined today here by two amazing guests. We have Madam Tatu, who is a psychologist, and also we have Mr. Frank. It's a honor to have you on the show. And to you, Madam Tatu, many people often confuse terms like mental illness, mental health problem, and mental disorder. Could you help us understand the difference?
Okay, thank you so much, Sylvia, for the question, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I really love having conversations around mental health. And on to your question, those terms are more or less the same. Mental illness, mental health problems, and mental disorder, mental disorders, they are more or less the same. I think the main conscious or challenge comes when we are trying to understand what is mental health and what is mental illness. Like, I really like when we're having conversations around mental health, you will hear someone saying, Nikona mental health, maybe they're feeling depressed or they're stressed. So now they'll be saying Nikona mental health to mean they have a mental illness or a mental health problem or a mental condition. So the main contrast is between those two. So I think I'll just shed light on what mental health is and what mental illness is. Sawa? So I really like the WHO, the World Health Organization definition for mental health. And it says that mental health is a state. Yani ni hali. It's a state in which, and it has four main components. So the first one is it's a state in which an individual is able to effectively cope with stressors. Stress is inevitable, and the main thing is how are you coping with it? So that's a big determinant of mental health. The second one, a state in which an individual is able to work effectively. We work in various capacities. Maybe you're an employee, maybe you're a student, you're a parent. Are you giving it your most at your place of work? The third one, a state in which an individual is able to achieve their full potential. Most times when people are struggling with various mental illnesses, they are really not able to give it their all. Someone may be withdrawn, no motivation to work or just interact. So that's also a determinant. And the last one is a state in which an individual is able to contribute to society. No man is an island, and you really can't stay in isolation because we are part of a community. So in that community that you're part of, are you contributing well? Are your interpersonal relationships okay? So those are the four main determinants. Sorry, those are the four main things that I use to define what mental health is. And from that definition, you can clearly tell there's no mention of mental illness. Because most people, if you ask them what's mental health, they'll give answers like nikuchizi, ni stress. But now that's where we jump into now mental illness and the mental disorders or the mental health condition. So now mental illnesses are conditions that affects an individual's emotion. Emotions ni hisia, how you're feeling. So someone with a mental illness, their emotions are really not okay. Someone may be overwhelmed, they may be manic or depressed. It's also a condition whereby one's thoughts are affected. You find someone is very much overwhelmed, they're not able to think straight, they're struggling to remember, they're struggling to retain information. And lastly, it's a condition in which one's behaviors are affected. Utapata people with mental illnesses, most of them tend to exhibit abnormal behavior. Like for the psychotic cases, unapata someone is just talking alone or saying things that don't add up. Some end up being very aggressive, irritable. Yeah, so in a nutshell, mental illnesses are conditions that affect one's emotions, thoughts, and behavior.
Is there a drug that can be used to treat mental illness?
Oh, right. That's a really good question. Yeah. So, actually, when we are talking about treatment for mental illnesses, there's a model we use, and we call it's a long name, but it's not a hard. It's a biopsychosocial, and they recently added the term biopsychosocial spiritual approach of treatment. So bio is biological And here now we have the medications. I'm a clinical psychologist, and Tapata, we have psychiatrists. Now, psychiatrists have medical doctors who are licensed to prescribe medication. We usually do screening for mental conditions. Like for you to be diagnosed with a certain mental illness, screening has to be done. So depending on the screening, kuna some level of severity where you need to be referred to a psychiatrist, and that can be managed with medication plus now therapy. So yes, there are medications. Maybe I can give an example of with the common mental disorders we have, maybe like depression and anxiety. We have antidepressants. Antidepressants are medications which are often prescribed not to everyone, but to most people who are struggling with severe depression or what we call major depressive disorders. We also have subclasses drugs in it, SSRIs, selective serotonin uptake inhibitors. So yeah, we have that. For the people who are suffering from schizophrenia, we have medications in anatomia to at least help them cool down, wasikuwe so manic, wasikuwe so depressed. So yeah, we have medication. And the thing is, for some illnesses, the medications are taken lifelong. It's a lifelong form of treatment. So what I've seen happen is the dosage can reduce, the medication may change depending on the symptoms that the client is exhibiting. So we have some illnesses that are lifelong treated by medication. Zingine, you just take them for a while and your windows and you just continue with therapy. But like I said, nikianza, it's a biopsychosocial. So biomedication, psycho, now that's the psychological bit where now there is therapy, behavioral modification.
From your perspective, are there signs that can show someone is going through mental health issue?
So thank you, Sylvia. And yes, there are signs that can show that someone is experiencing a mental illness or a mental issue that, like you put it. And something I'd like to put across is we usually say that mental health is on a continuum, like it's on us. Okay, is it a straight line from mild to severe? So the signs can vary. And for instance, you remember the definition I gave for mental illness? Yes. So the signs can be emotions. The signs can be emotionally exhibited. It can be through the thoughts or it can be through behavior. So for emotion, a good sign may be maybe someone is so irritable or you just cry, you feel hopeless, you're very angry, extreme emotions. For the thoughts, unapata someone is very forgetful, they can't pay attention, they can't concentrate. For the behaviors, like I said, you can be very unkempt, all of a sudden you're so aggressive, you're exhibiting manic symptoms. So those are the common signs. And that maybe to just shed more light, one of the common mental illnesses is depression. And some of the common signs of depression zinakuanga like loneliness and isolation. Unapata mtu amejiwithdraw, hataki hata stori za watu. Another one is change in eating or sleep patterns. So you either start eating too much or too little, but now you're sleeping too much or sleeping too little. Another sign is feeling of hopelessness. Na hapa ndio unapata someone starts having suicidal ideations, like you're contemplating suicide, and if not managed, some people will actually go to the extent of attempting suicide.
Do you think that a man who's going through mental illness prefers to seek help or counseling from a male psychologist or a female? Frank, what would you say about that?
Personally, from my take, I'd consider a female. Because, okay, as a man, have my manly issues. Considering involving another man who has his own manly issues might not come up with a real solution. So at least change your areas of gender, there is a difference in thinking capacity. There is a way we men think different from women. So maybe if I get a a thought or a suggestion or a reasoning from a lady might differ from my own thinking that I would get from another male psychologist. So personally, I would prefer female. Not just because of the gender or the feelings considered. No, there's this notion that we say women listen more. What I'm going to tell this male psychologist is already expecting something he knows. So the listening part will be limited. And like the lady who wants to know more, what is he going to say? What is he going to? And like a man, I already know what you're going to say next. That's why I prefer the other gender. Yeah, you have a diverse area where you get to express yourself better than the other gender. Okay, apart from that, considering the question, there's this problem women majorly face, and it is admitting. As much as you want to come to advice and sessions, when they have one problem, admitting and acceptance. Accepting that you are under depression and you really need help. That's the greatest problem you ever have. The greatest challenge you can ever have. That's why expressing or singing our troubles out and to be difficult. One may die with his own problems but not express it out. That's the main problem.
There's a study that was done recently. Like if I inasema, more women attempt suicide compared to men. But more men are highly likely to die by suicide.
You have said that you have already accepted that you went through depression. What has this experience taught you about life for yourself?
Okay, life is difficult. As much as it is difficult, it's also easy. All depends on your perspective. How do you consider? How do you take and analyze your daily life? I think as much as we say life is difficult, someone else might be saying it's easy. We should consider and think what makes it easy. So I think every consideration you make about life is all about your perspective. So once you change your perspective, everything is going to change. So yeah, life is difficult, can I? As much as we try, but there's always the happy places. Everyone has a happy place in his heart or heart. Just tap on that happy place and let it go.
Looking ahead, what are your hopes or goals moving forward?
My hope is that someday in the future, I don't expect somebody to be going through what I went through. You know, making the world a better place is ensuring whatever you went through never comes back to someone else. So I'm hoping in the future, we as men have lighter hearts to admit and speak out of us way. Because that is something wrong knowing as you've been told here. You're still a little bit, but you're being impacted with the comeback skills. Why are you crying? You're a man. So it's been generational. So let me hope someday with our parenting and the new mothers and fathers coming, they impact something different. Not the paramilitary scale life of giving, because that is damaging our lifestyle. You won't notice that with the time, it hits. So let's hope someday there'll be no problem like mental illness. There'll be no problem like depressions. Outbreaks are there, yeah, but depressions, let's hope things change. Generally, I just want things to change because depression is the source of everything we are going through right now. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today. To our viewers, stay tuned for more conversation. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment. See you in the next episode.